Thank you. Minister, with reference to the competitive tender process water rights along the Flinders River, will the Minister explain the absence of a compulsory arbitration trigger, the downstream water user agreements, which applies to the impossible, as I would view it, tolerance threshold that priorities placement of the river over price?
I thank the member for the question.
I'm not sure if I made that clear. I can go. What I'm saying is there's an impossible threshold of 0.1% for everyone downstream. So you need to ask everyone downstream to say that we don't feel you don't impact us, when I know that HIPCO has tried to negotiate and they've said no, because there's clearly their own interest in there to say no, because then if there's water left over, they get it. And there's no trigger for the, and I don't think any dam in Australia ever would have been built on those same basis.
I thank the member for the backup of the question. As the member knows, we're currently going through the tender process, and as the rules were set for that tender process, that is the department's way that they've done that process at this point in time. So whoever's in line for the tender process will have to abide by the department's guidelines as far as that process goes. I think it's when the tender came out, that was quite clear in the detail of any projects that were moving forward at that stage during the process period. But I can hand over to the Acting Director General to give you a little bit more info on that, if that's all right.
Thank you. On the 30th of November 2021, the Department commenced a release by competitive tender for 110,000 megalitres of water from the Flinders River General Reserve. The release is still underway. The process for the tender, it's a market-based tender with a confidential reserve price, is being used because interest in water for new agricultural proposals was known to exceed the remaining volumes available in the catchment. Using a competitive process protects existing investment decisions while ensuring water goes to its highest value use. The tender process was broken down into 3 stages to enable flexibility while ensuring only projects that could deliver on the purpose of the release will proceed. The staged approach distinguishes itself from previous water tenders by allowing only projects that demonstrate a clear water usage plan to advance to the next stage. It uses features such as computer modelling, eligibility criteria and a call options deed with conditions which ensures any water sold will be used. The assessment considers the project against criteria which protect environmental, social, economic and cultural outcomes, as well as the reliability of existing entitlements stated under the Gulf Water Plan. This framework ensures the release of unallocated water remains competitive and aligns with water plans, and that's why a structured process is so important.
I'm happy with that. So I'm aware of all that. What I was getting at was a trigger to what I see as impossible conditions for anyone upstream, like Flinders Shire that's facing a 20% population decline. The conditions for them are the tolerance at 0.1% of non-effect, which, as you're outlining there, do you not see that as a almost impossible barrier for them to ever comply with?
So all water projects, so including the ones that are underway, for example, Rookwood Weir at the moment, they have to build those projects so that they don't impact downstream existing water entitlement holders. That's what compliance with the water plan means.
So if there was an irrational type downstream user that would flat out refuse and you need 100% compliance, then that dam that could help supply to hundreds of people would never go ahead, because then we'd never build a road or a bridge in Australia if you can't impact on someone else in the process.
So it's a process that's occurring up in that particular catchment because of the way the river behaves, where it's dry a big period of time and then has flood events. Okay,
can I move on then? Would you consider in the thresholds, amending the thresholds of the tender so that there's some chance of an outcome, because at 5% it's tolerable, but at 0.1% it seems like a ridiculously small tolerance that I'm sure would be unprecedented for impact on downstream users.
So when somebody has a water entitlement, so a water licence or a water allocation, it's like a property right. You've got pretty much a guarantee for that
Like
water.
someone a compulsory road acquisition or anything.
Yeah. So to do what you're suggesting erodes away.
Yeah, in which case you
that water
have
right.
compulsory arbitration through a compensation agreement, and that's what I'm getting at. Is there any trigger in your process? Because otherwise, it's just they have all the bargaining power downstream.
Yeah, we don't have a trigger in our process. The National Water Initiative.
That answers the question. I think that's a flaw in the process. So, when we're talking about the entitlements and the measurements, is the Minister confident of the information that you're getting on the flow stream records?
I thank the member for the question. I have all faith in the department and what they do with the water tender process. As the Acting Director General just said, it is a very competitive tender process. That tender process is still in play, and the people doing in the department that are doing the assessment of that do it internally. I have no record or no idea of what that is that you're talking about, because it is a competitive tender done by the department, not by me.
I'm not so much reflecting on the tender process now. I'm talking about the data that everyone so critically relies on to calibrate this. So we're only talking about 3% water. The water's only been taken out at the moment anyway of the entire average annual flow. But when we're talking about average annual flow, the 2019 floods, for instance, there's reports that Flinders records have been reported to councils that didn't know that to pass it on. There's in the source model, that's the water modelling basis. There's been licences allocated in the wrong position, that are in the wrong position when they're doing the modelling. There's look, it was probably a rhetorical question that there seems to be flaws in it. Was the Minister aware of that there are a number of flaws and limitations in and busted flow meters that aren't working for and given the size of like 2019 floods, which impacts on the average annual flow and any other future, especially the ROP, is the Minister concerned of some of these irregularities and, busted flow meters, non-reporting?
I thank the member for the question, and certainly I'm not aware of busted flow meters or any misreporting to me, unless the department certainly might have some of that detail and that information. What I can say is that there is an opportunity coming up in relation to the Flinders water plan that we may be looking to do that review shortly, and then obviously the opportunity for allocating more water can be part of that process. People will have their say on the demand that they're looking for as part of opening up a water plan to make sure that even the small players, which I know you're passionate about, and small irrigators in the region have an opportunity to apply as part of that process under the water plan and to certainly get that water if they need it into the future. So at some point in time in the near future, we'll be looking to open that water plan, as we're doing right across the state for different water plans at the moment. And certainly those people that you're talking about may have opportunity for extra water if they want to apply for it at that time.
So would the Minister's advice be then, if under this tender process, given that there's downstream users that are competing in the tender that will benefit from HIPCO falling over and then having access, would it be in the would the Minister advise HIPCO that it's pointless pursuing the tender any further? Given they need 100% compliance of downwater users?
I thank the member for the question, and as I said before, I'm not aware of people who are still in the tender process. It's a departmental process. I'm not aware of which companies are still in it or which projects are still in it, and it wouldn't be good for me to start to dig in and start to look at those type of things inside that planning that tender process.
All right, I'll go to the